In Sight KTR. Quick questions, concrete answers.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of In Sight KTR. We all know that doing jigsaw puzzles has become a huge trend during the pandemic. Today we will talk about a puzzle on a larger scale, namely the KTR company that consists of the headquarters and 24 subsidiaries. I will discuss what it is like to be part of KTR when you are actually not working from the headquarters in Rheine. And our episode is named Being Part of the Puzzle, the International KTR Family. For this, I have invited two guests. My first guest today is Hans Hagedorn, Managing Director at KTR Benelux, in the company since 33 years. Thank you for being here today, Hans.
Welcome.
Also with us is Pierre Martin. He is Managing Director at KTR France, and he also has been with the company very long, for 25 years. And Pierre, thanks for taking time for our podcast.
Thank you.
Before we address the questions that you have sent us via email and our social media surveys, let's start out with a question that I personally have. We are doing an online meeting today because we can't actually meet right now. I assume this is a very common situation for you, even before the pandemic, isn't it, Hans?
Not before the pandemic. It is something which came up after the pandemic started. It was for us. We are always traveling to people and traveling around in the Benelux as far as possible. And so this is something we had to learn with as the pandemic started. No visits, only viewing in the screen. So it's a different way of life at the moment. And no, it's not. It wasn't there before the pandemic.
And Pierre, what about you? Was it a new situation?
It was a new situation for us. Yes, it is a new situation. And yes, COVID, I think, was accelerate this change of way of doing business also. So it is also for us an opportunity to work now with this. Maybe with less visit, but it's an in-between solution between real visit and telephone. I think it's much better than phone, of course. Mm-hmm. But this is, yes, thanks to the COVID, I would say, it has accelerated this way of doing business.
Now on to the questions that were sent in by our community. We have 20 minutes time. And so that we get an idea of the different subsidiaries, Hans, which one is the smallest in terms of number of employees and which one is the largest?
I think the smallest will be the two-person office, probably, Pierre. I think it will be Portugal or Spain or the small.
The new one?
Denmark, 2 people. Just it's our last subsidiary we got, and I think the biggest is China, isn't it?
Yes, for sure. I guess yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not only a sales company; it's also production there.
And Pierre, the parent company is German. What do you think? How German are the subsidiaries? Do you have to follow many German rules and processes, or do you add your own touch to it?
I would say I have my own attach to this. Of course, we have to understand the German way of doing business. And we are close to our customers, so we have to translate not only the language between the French customer and the English people, so the English talking people or German talking people in Germany, we have to translate also the way of doing business. Mm-hmm. And it's not only a way of language, it's a way of how you do business, how you have also the way of considering the time, the way you do business. Yes, it's different. And I do not only the language translation, but really the cultural translation between the French customer and our supplier in Germany.
Mm-hmm. And Hans, how German is KTR Benelux?
Not.
Nothing at all.
Although we are the closest subsidiary, I think the cultural difference is still there, and especially the way of talking to people and finding openings in conversations is different than in Germany. And therefore, I'm very happy that we don't have the contact from Germany into Holland, but we have our own people. And I think this is very important. This is also our strength, I think, for all these subsidiaries, that we can do our business in our own culture.
Both of you talked about cultural differences. That seems to be an interesting topic. What do you think is the biggest difference between the headquarters and KTR France or other subsidiaries, Pierre?
So we are much smaller than the mother company in Germany, so we have to be very flexible. In our internal organization, we have to be very flexible towards the customer, and everybody here in the company has to do many things different, because we have 17 people here in France, so comparing to this nearly 500 people in Germany, so the difference of the structure of the company is completely different, and then we have to be organized differently.
Could you please give us an example? What works different?
Yes, for example, here, my staff here, internal people, they are also doing a part of the logistic part. And in Germany, the logistic part is a department, completely department. And here it's part of different people doing this. Mm-hmm. And the same for purchase. We have many people doing purchasing. And in Germany, it's one department. But this is more not Germany compared to France. It's a big company compared to a small company.
And Hans, the cultural differences, what do you think, how can we imagine what the cultural differences are between KTR Benelux and the headquarters?
First of all, I think the differences between Holland and Belgium are big already. So there it starts already. We have a guy working from Belgium. In the beginning, we started doing from Holland, but it didn't work. It is a different way of thinking, a different way of doing business than we do or get used to in Holland. And also, like Pierre said, I think the big cultural difference is that people speak to somebody in our office, and from the starting up from the offer until the invoice. So there is no department difference in the small subsidiaries. So I think it works very fine because you always talk to the same guy. And the difference, of course, in the conversations is different. I don't know how it goes in France, but we normally start with a cup of coffee and talking about your private situation, and then the business starts. And that's a big difference. I think that makes it also people feel themselves comfortable in every meeting you have in this way.
Pierre, what would you say? How big is the topic of the language?
It's a main topic. So we want to be close to our customers. So every country has his own way of doing business. And it's not the German way of doing business. So if you want to be closer to the customer in your country, you have to be also from this country. And the best way to talk to a French customer is to be a French, because you have some background in your cultural way of doing business, which is not the same as in Germany. And as I just explained before, the language is not only the words, but the way of being there. Yes. Have a cup of coffee, for example, to start the discussion. That's the basic, yes, for sure.
Hans, our community sent us the following question: what do you particularly enjoy about the internationality of the company?
Oh, it is. It's fun. Because we all are working for the same employer, so for us we share a lot. I think we have been together for many years. Many of us have been there for long years, for more than 15 years. So we meet twice, or we used to meet twice a year. So we can interchange a lot of things because we face the same problems, whatever you call it. And then we can discuss it without Germany, without the headquarter, and find our solutions on the sales side. And you also get the personal relationship which has been built up, especially now in the COVID time. That's the disadvantage of the advantage of the disadvantage at the moment. Mm-hmm. So we speak each other a lot, not physically, but online.
Coffee is very important, isn't it? Hans shows us his cup of coffee. You talked about 15 years of working together with some colleagues. What do you think is the biggest thing that has changed in this 15 years, Hans?
First of all, 15 years ago, I thought I knew everybody in Rheine, and now I don't, because there are too many people. So our organization has been growing tremendously, of course. But if you compare it with the past and what's now going on, I think nothing really changed. I think, of course, we got bigger, we got more people, more subsidiaries, so the group went bigger. But I think we have still the same relationship as we had before.
Mm-hmm. Pierre, there might be also challenges because of the internationalization. What is the biggest challenge you face when working with the headquarters or with your other international colleagues?
The fact that we have many international colleagues in different countries, we learn a lot of the way of doing business. Each country has its own way, I would say, and we can pick up some of this way of doing business from other countries to try to implement it in France, for example, for me. And we learn a lot of each other. And this is, for me, very important to meet people regularly, to see how they doing business, how is changing their market, and just pick up what is important for me for the French way of doing business. Yes. And the organization has changed a lot since 15, 20, 25 years, I would say. So there is more complexity, more organization, and so this is even more important to increase good relation between people, to go over this complexity of the organization. So the relation and the trust, I would say trust between KTR Germany and the daughter company and sister company is really the key, and we can trust each other and we can help each other.
Hans, I see you agree. What for you is the biggest challenge of the internationalization?
I think one of the biggest challenges is, of course, how to handle international customers. We see a lot of customers who are not only in Germany, but also have an operation plant in France or in the UK or in the USA or wherever. And that's a big challenge to coordinate this. And therefore the cooperation between us, between our subsidiaries is very, very important. But that's a big challenge for us to, you can't, when you have one customer, you can't offer 15 euros and 6 euros somewhere else. So you have to compare it. You have to talk together and find a solution how to handle these customers. And it's very interesting, but it's a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Pierre, your German colleagues have all highlighted the great team spirit among the employees. It was very often a topic in our episodes we recorded for In Sight KTR. In our title for today, we use the words KTR family, and it is also as a much used hashtag. What does that actually mean for you, KTR family?
It's really a family company, and the culture of the family company in Germany, I think, is also here in France, in the culture of KTR in France. This way of doing this, the relationship we have with every people in Germany and in France, the same. And towards the cultural difference, I think this way of there is an internal culture of KTR. And I can see this, and also the new people coming from outside, when they enter the company, they, it's different here, something is different. And it belongs to the family way of doing business.
Hans, when we talk about the relationship, the KTR family, do you feel as close to each other? Do you feel like a family or friends?
Yes, I do. We take care of each other. Of course, in these COVID times, not everybody doing the best business they can. And of course, we rely on the results of our customers, but we still stick together. And we meet each other very often, as far as possible, online. And this family feeling is always there because it's, I think, there is no real hierarchy in Rheine. Of course, somebody has to be in the lead, but if we all sit together with a beer, there is no difference. So we all call each other at the front name, so there is no real difference. And that makes it you're feeling very at home. And also, of course, we have Mrs. Tucker, who tells us every time how good it is together to be at the family. Mm-hmm. And we have a good feeling with that. And it's also the reason why Pierre and I probably never left. We stayed on board.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, you can have, yes, for sure, like a family, you can have open discussion, not be okay with someone, but you can have a discussion and you still have the trust and to go further.
How often do you both talk to each other or make a call or communicate?
Once a week, I think.
Ah, okay. Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Yeah.
Sometimes for fun, sometimes for business.
And sometimes for both of it.
That's good. Yeah, let us send us a message to Rheine, namely, what can the headquarters learn from your national company?
Oh, what they can learn from me, for the national company, that the customer are different, and so they have to learn also the French way of doing business. And maybe we need more flexibility towards our customers. They are not so straight to the point. And maybe then in Germany they have to learn that the straight way is not mainly the best way.
The German straight way. Okay. Yeah. And what do you think? What can the headquarters learn?
I think what they can learn from the Dutch is thinking out of the borders. So thinking a bit different than standard, and try always to think in solutions instead of trouble or problems. I think we always try to find a solution somewhere. And of course, I can imagine that it's difficult when you are in an organization with 300-400 people in Rheine. It is much more difficult than we. But still, I think before hiding behind systems or behind certain ways of doing, you can always find a solution somewhere. And this flexibility is something which Rheine once in a while could learn from us.
Could you give us an advice? How can we learn that? Think outside the box?
Of course, our big system is the SAP system. This is the system where the company is being based on, and this tells you when the goods come, when the delivery times are, what the prices are, and so, etc., etc. But sometimes you wish the system isn't there, because you want to do what you want to do, or what we want to do is sell our product at the best moment, at the best quality, at the best price. And sometimes you have to be very flexible. And if you hide behind the system, you can miss very important projects sometimes. And therefore, I sometimes wish that we could think a bit more on the customer side.
Mm-hmm. We have, sorry?
Yes, to think out of the system. That's maybe because we are maybe not really in the system, because we are not some kilometers away from Rheine, and for us it's more easy to think out of the system. And it's quite surprising that if you think out of the system, in Germany, KTR Germany, they can understand this, and you can see, I have seen this example, they integrate what you have discussed, and they build another system which take into account what you have said.
Mm-hmm. We have received quite some questions on this topic. Some of them we talked about already. So many thanks to our community. Please continue to send us ideas and questions to social media at ktr.com or participate in our social media surveys. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram, and your questions will be included. The next question we received is for you, Hans. 24 different places to choose from. Which of the other subsidiaries would you like to work in and why?
Is it for personal, which country I like, or is it just for the business? Well,
maybe both. Maybe both.
I would start a business in Canada, but we don't have one yet. But it would be. That's a good question. Probably somewhere in Scandinavia, because I like the mentality of Scandinavia. Maybe Denmark or Norway or Sweden. I think it's close to our mentality. Of course, you can say it is not a real challenge, but I think the atmosphere is a bit equal as we have. And if I would go somewhere in the south or somewhere in the Far East, I don't know if it's going to work.
Okay, what do you think? What can we learn from Scandinavia?
Well, I think they do a bit of business the same as we do. So open-minded and less discussions, just thinking in solutions.
Pierre, for you, is on the earth another place, another subsidiary you would like to work in, and why?
I will go around the Mediterranean Sea. So Spain, Italy, yes, Greece. And so I have also the occasion to go in North Africa for KTR, in Morocco and Algeria and Tunisia. And here also it's a good way to learn how different countries are working. And so it's to work in another country is a good way to learn the country, how they are acting and thinking. So it's a cultural exchange, I would say.
Pierre and Hans, I have to thank you both very much. 20 minutes have already passed again. Many thanks to both of you, to my guests for the interesting answers, and to you out there for the exciting questions you've sent us. Next time we will talk about our think tank at KTR. So make sure to tune in, and all the best. See you soon. Bye. And bye, Hans and Pierre.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.